I've been training now for about 10 years really. I started when I was like 21. It was quite a casual thing, same as most probably 21-year-old lads. You join a gym, do things really badly, but do them anyway. Doing your bicep curls in the mirror, doing your bench press and like dropping 100 kg on your chest and stuff like that. Always trained to some extent, sometimes more effectively than others. I would spend like hours on end just researching like what's your latest diet trend, what's the latest training trend, and not consistent at all, just hopping from one trend to another. I was training one day, it was like between the COVID lockdowns. I was on the incline press and Mike came up to me, and yeah, we grabbed the chat, and initially I just said like, oh yeah, I'd like to have a bit more structure to my training, have the nutrition side taken off my hands, because I'd always done like the standard bulk thing, like eat loads, eat less, eat loads, eat less. And I was like kind of relieved that somebody was like, okay, I can take this off your hands. I'd never really thought about coaching as a thing. So yeah, we initially had that conversation around like just improving my physique. And then eventually that became, let's do a photo shoot. And like I really enjoyed the sort of structured process and not having to sort of do it myself. And then it got to a point where Mike was like, have you ever thought about competing? And it was like, well, I really enjoyed the process of getting ready for the photo shoot. So yeah, I mean, I'm not, a lot of people who go into bodybuilding themselves have got some level of interest, and full transparency, before I didn't really know much about bodybuilding apart from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I went from bodybuilding to movies. That's about all I knew about bodybuilding really. And to this day I'm still learning stuff. Like I've not been to a bodybuilding show, but I enjoy the process, I enjoy the posing, I enjoy the training, and it just seems like a natural progression to sort of go into like doing a show, which I'll be doing for the first time. A session like today, it's particularly taxing with leg press and hack squat, but like one of the things that Mike's instilled in me and that I've tried to sort of maintain myself is to make sure that I don't use the lack of food as an excuse. You can lift that weight. A lot of the time it's just mentality and having the mentality to do it. So the most challenging part of prep, I mean, it's obviously the reduced food, so there's hunger, your sort of fatigue comes on a lot quicker, you've got a lot more output, so there's a lot more sort of time requirement to put into prep. It's the mental challenge really, which yeah, it does, that's the difficult part, but at the same time it's the part that I love. It's what I fell in love with when it came to doing my prep for my photo shoot. Was this is me against me now, this is me against my brain. My body can do it, can my brain do it? And I love that challenge, being able to challenge myself to be like, dig deep now, like it's overcoming your own mind. Like I think that's the thing for me. Like I've never had to challenge my mind the way that I have with prep. So the most challenging thing has been, yeah, to overcome the brain saying, give up. I'd say that the you against you thing definitely helps you, because day to day, like everyone has challenges. Like I'm not sort of like naive enough to think that bodybuilding is the only challenge where you sort of come across like mentality battles with yourself. Bodybuilding helps you develop a fortitude and an ability to overcome negative thoughts and negative mindset, because you have an understanding that your body is capable of more, and that mentality plays a big part in a lot of things where you might think you're not capable of something, but it's just your mind challenging you to become capable of it. we're way more capable of way more things than we actually realise. And by having that challenge of, I mean, it's a pretty challenging thing to starve yourself and to still try and train effectively. So to be able to know that the extent to which your mind can challenge you and that you can overcome it, you realise you're a lot more powerful than you actually think you are. So today's posing workshop, we're really looking to fine tune things now. When I first started posing, I was terrible. I was so awkward with posing. Like I watched a video the other day of myself posing. I was like, oh man. But everyone's got to start somewhere, and I think for me, like having these posing workshops that Mike's regularly done has been really beneficial, because it's given me the confidence to be able to sort of display my physique, and I can now stand in a gym and pose and feel comfortable in what I'm doing, whereas I never would have thought I'd have done that previously. So these posing workshops at this point now, it's about fine tuning things. I can do the sort of, to a good extent, I can do the poses. Now it's about transitions and just nailing those little tweaks to poses that will just display my physique, because obviously a pose for me will look different for a pose for someone else, because you've got strengths and weaknesses that you're trying to highlight. So it's just about sort of making it work for me now. So the impact of bodybuilding for me, I grew up in a single parent household with a brother and a sister. I was always into football when I was younger. My brother and sister not really interested in sport, so I always sort of was sporting inclined, but never really had that circle to the point where it was like, okay, I'm part of a team. I played football with friends, but it was always like at school, it's like one-on-one, or like you're a couple or what have you. So I never really got into team sports, but I always wanted that outlet of sporting activity. Like I've always wanted to do sport, but I never really had that, because obviously my mum had 2 other children that she couldn't afford to like put us all through like our hobbies. It was a case of you just sort of made do. So I used to kick a ball against the wall. It wasn't a case of let's do tennis lessons or let's play golf. Like these like individual sports are usually quite expensive. So for me, like I think when I first started training, it was like, okay, I found something that I don't need to lean on anyone else. I don't need anybody else for me to enjoy this. I can do this off my own back. And now to sort of find bodybuilding and like competitive bodybuilding, it's like I finally have an outlet where I can measure the success of what I've been doing. I can actually look at what I've done and be like, okay, now I can compete. I can actually score against people. Like I can like see the results in terms of like success. Have I achieved success? And it's not a case of I'm dependent on the team. I'm dependent on myself. Like at the end of the day, Mike does the program, but it's me who's got to go into the gym every day. It's me who's got to say no to food every day. It's me who's got to step up on that stage. And it's nice to finally be able to take part in a sport where it is, yeah, it's me. It's just me. I am quite an individual person. I'm quite like a self-dependent person. So to be able to compete with that and see the results of that and like measure it is, yeah, that's the impact for me, is to be able to measure the success of my own sort of individualness.